If you're still waiting for the housing bubble to burst or the market to crash, it's simply not going to happen. And I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Now, I say that with a smile only due to the fact that everything I put out is based on the data. It's simply what the market data is telling us. It's not based on an opinion. It's not based on an assumption of if this, then that. It's simply based on the data. And for the past several months, I've been saying that sometime over the summer, we're going to reach a point where home prices are going to be up. We're actually going to show appreciation year over year. And here in Frisco, that happened in July. So last month, home prices for resale homes was actually up 5.1% year over year. So if you want to know why home prices were up and what to expect in the months ahead, then stay with me because we're going to dive into all of that right now. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team, eXp Realty here in Frisco, Texas. And if you want to stay up to date on everything that's happening in the real estate market here in Frisco and the surrounding areas, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel and go ahead and hit that little bell icon to be notified every single time I release a new video. And you may recall last year at this time, mortgage rates were rising rather rapidly. And as those mortgage rates were rising rapidly, talk of a housing market crash grew louder. And while home prices did fall, they fell last fall, the market certainly didn't crash in the way that many had forecast that it would. So why is that? Well, when you cut through all the noise and all of the headlines, it's really very simple. And that's the fact that home prices themselves are determined by the balance or imbalance between supply and demand. So here's what I mean by that. Last year, when mortgage rates jumped, they skyrocketed. The talk of the crash got louder due to the fact that an assumption was made. And the assumption was that listings, homes put on the market, so supply, in other words, which had been climbing, was expected to continue to skyrocket, to climb. So here's last June. This is nationally. I'll show you the local numbers in just a sec. But the assumption was this is what would happen, this line right here, for the remainder of 2022, as compared to what happened in 2017, 18, and 19. But it didn't. What actually happened was that the listings went down. So when we got here, rather than climbing as was expected, the listings actually dropped. And they dropped at a pace like they had in 17, 18, and 19. They dropped rather substantially. So why is that, right? Well, it's simply because due to the fact that many of the people, homeowners out there, that already had a mortgage rate locked in at 3%, unless they absolutely had to sell, they simply took their homes off the market. I mean, why trade your 3% mortgage rate for one at 7% if you don't actually have to? And that was missed. It was missed in many of the forecasts. And that's what happened. Sellers simply took their homes off the market and they dropped, right? So the amount of supply actually dropped. As we roll that forward and go into 2023, it stayed even lower. Here's where we started 2023. So it was the lowest we'd seen in the past several years. And we did start to follow a seasonal pattern, but, nationally more, the amount of supply rose and then it started to fall once again. Now, with that in mind, we did see inventory here in Frisco continue to climb somewhat, which again, I'll show you in just a minute. But this changing pattern in supply is one of the things that kept home prices elevated. So what I mean is the assumption was supply would keep going up and demand would plummet. Now, demand did drop drastically. People simply weren't used to what was going on. In January, you could get a mortgage at 3.25%, right? By the time you got to September, rates were pushing 7% or just over. That was a shock to the system. And affordability really got called into play. However, there were still enough buyers in the marketplace who were able to afford those payments, and demand was sufficiently high relative to the supply that we had that things didn't come tumbling down. Yes, we did see the fall off in home prices, last August, September, October, as buyers kind of adjusted to the new normal. And we saw a lot of new home builders, especially here. You'll probably remember they really ramped up the incentives. They cut the price on all of those homes that they had coming to completion, where the buyers were canceling contracts. They were offering financing incentives, and those homes continued to sell. So the situation has changed quite a bit. And as a result of that, many of the experts that were forecasting the big price declines are now changing their tune just a little bit. So here's what the forecast looks like for many of the major players for the rest of this year and into next year. So the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie Mae, Morgan Stanley, and the AEI Housing Center all released these forecasts back in December of 2022. And as you can see, anywhere from just over 0.5% all the way up to 20% national price declines in 2023. Those entities now are forecasting that we will finish 2023 with prices either flat or up to 6% in the case of the AEI Housing Center. Now, on these right here, CoreLogic and Zillow, they don't forecast quite the same way. They're using an actual 12 months. So when we look at where we are today, forecasting out for the next 12 months, CoreLogic are expecting that by the middle of next year, we'll see 4.5% price appreciation, and Zillow are forecasting 6.5% on a national scale. Now, with that in mind, how does this play out in Frisco itself? So this is actual data from our local multiple listing service. And what we're looking at here is the median sales price in Frisco just for resale homes. I'm focused in just on the resale here for a minute. And I want to point out that it's not that home prices this year are suddenly on a big appreciation again. Don't start thinking that this is late 2021, 2022 all over again. It is not. Home prices this year and right now are not going up on a year-over-year basis from the perspective that we're seeing a bunch of appreciation. It's more that last year they were depreciating so quickly. So this year, even if they hold steady and the prices from a year ago are falling, that's giving us the opinion, or it's given us the look, I should say, that we're appreciating. And that's not actually the case. And I want to point out that things in the headlines are going to get a little bit confusing in the months ahead. And the reason for that is the market this year is showing normal seasonality. And what I mean by that is every single year, the pace of appreciation goes up in the first part of the year, all the way through the spring busy selling season. We peak in the summer, and then that starts to dip off again in the fall before restarting again in January. So I bring that up because in the months ahead, it is very likely that you're going to start to see reports that month over month, the list prices are going down. And so you're going to say, well, wait a minute, the list prices are going down, but how can prices be up? That's why. It's just they're measuring things differently. One is going to be showing a change in month over month, whereas one is comparing it to year over year. So here we are last year. As you can see, our prices here in Frisco anyway peaked in April, and then we started this big aggressive drop, right? Finally bottoming out in November. October, November were virtually flat. Then you'll see we went up in December, then we dropped off in January and February before recovering, and here's where we are now. So why this big drop off in February? All right, so with that in mind, it's important to look at original list prices, because you'll always want to know that sales prices they're like looking in the rearview mirror. They're telling us what did happen. So again, for the sales prices to be down in February, that's actually showing us what was going on in December and January. Now I'm looking at list prices. Well, looky here. The low point was December and January. Homes that went under contract in December and January are what showed up in the closed sales in February. So you can see since then, prices have been jumping back up again. But Andrew, those are list prices. Yeah, I know. We're going to look at list prices a little bit more, but when we again look at this, this is now showing us what percentage of the list price homes are actually selling for. And you can see all year that's been going up, right? Buyers have been coming back and that's been going up. So not the crazy bidding wars, not things running tens, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 over. That's not what's been happening. But you can see in April, May, and June, homes in Frisco here were selling for an average of 100% of the list price. Now in July, we dropped off to 99%. So a 1% discount, not uncommon towards the end of summer. But again, that right there is telling us, as long as this doesn't plummet, even if it goes down another 1 or 2%, that's not an indication that a bubble is bursting or prices are going to come crashing down by any means. All right, so now I'm looking specifically at Frisco, and this is from my weekly market update. So I want to also just point out, and I'm going to close out here, I just wanted to give you this update on pricing and what we see. If we look at this is looking at inventory all the way back to 2018. And it's showing this is the 7-day trend. So right here, August 4th, we have on average 345 homes for sale here in Frisco. Okay, so inventory is peaked for the year. It's going to start to dip off following this if it follows its normal pattern. But if you go back, right, you go back to the same time here's where I want, 2019, 891 homes. 891. So, we're more than half down from what we normally are. We go back to, August 17th, 2018, 1,263 homes, 345. So as you can see, you're going to get reports in the media talking about home sales are down, home sales are down. Yeah, they're down because you can't sell what isn't for sale. There's simply not enough homes on the market. The saving grace for us here in Frisco and the surrounding areas is new construction. We all know there's all kinds of new construction going on. It's the new construction entities, all the home builders that are bringing the supply into the market we need right now to kind of keep things stable with regards to pricing. Now, if we look at the median list price, as I told you, I'm looking at the median list price because the list prices kind of give us an idea where prices are going to be heading, especially when I also combine that with pending data, which I'm not going to do today. But you can see here the list prices have been climbing all the way back since March, and they've kind of plateaued here. But as of this week, the 90-day average list price here in Frisco is $801,000. The 7-day average is $785. It's trending down just a little bit. But again, you go back and look at where homes are selling, they've been at 99 to 100% of list price. Okay, so that tells me that in the months ahead, at least here for the rest of 2023, we should not expect to see any additional significant price declines in Frisco. It's just not going to happen. There's just simply not enough supply relative to demand. So again, the information I'm bringing you today is based purely on what the data is giving me, what the data is telling me overall. It's not a guess. It's not an opinion. It's not based on a bunch of assumptions. Could all of this change? Absolutely. Something could happen in the economy that isn't forecast right now, that we're not expecting, that could have a significant impact in this. But right now, if you're on the sidelines or wondering what to do, I do expect mortgage rates will continue to ease down. That's what all of the experts are saying. And I honestly think our pricing for the rest of this year is going to remain fairly flat, up a little bit. And that should hold into the first quarter of 2024 as well. And from there, most of the latest reports I have seen are forecasting, cumulative price appreciation over the next 3 or 4 years of anywhere between 15 and 20% in our local markets. So right back to a healthy 4 to 6% per year appreciation. Again, we'll have to see, but right now, the data is showing us that home prices are holding steady and trending upward slightly. So again, if you've been in the market, you're considering buying or selling, I hope this information helps you. If you have additional questions or there's things that I can do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out. In the description below, there is a link to my calendar. You can book a call with me. I'm always happy to talk to you and share some additional information specific to your situation and in what questions you're trying to answer for you and your family. Otherwise, always feel free to reach out. You can send me an email at andrew@theandrewsmithteam.com or give me a call at 469-296-5230.